coming out. Russia is being asked by WADA to be kicked out of the IAAF. What has been the reaction from Mother Russia?
Well, we're getting first reaction from the Russian officials, and Russian Sports Minister Vitaly Mutko said just now that the World Anti-Doping Agency has no right to suspend anyone, and he said that he can only provide recommendations. The ministry said that it will publish a report to that later. Another Russian official, Russia's Federal Medical Biological Agency chief, that agency provides medical services to Russian national team competitors, he called the report politically motivated. He connected it with Russia's takeover of Crimea last year and Western sanctions that follow. And he said that Russian athletes who are suspected of doping are likely to keep their medals because taking them away would require a large number of legal proceedings. And Russian officials maintain that Russia's violations are really nothing else. They're not more serious than in other countries. And however, according to that report by the Anti-Doping Agency in 2013, Russia accounted for 12% of all violations of the anti-doping code globally. And according to the report, about a fifth of Russia's violations involved track and field athletes.
It's an interesting one there because I was just mentioning earlier before we came to you, it begs the question, you look at athletes like, Ardayeva and you think to yourself, what an athlete. She's broken world record after world record, in particular in the track and as far as, well, in the field rather than the pole vault event. Then the question comes in, who is immune to this? Do we now look at all Russian athletes and say, well, we're not sure? Because it brings back the question, the 70s, when again the Eastern Bloc was suspected of mass doping.
That's right. And this report contains 350 pages, and it comes after months of work. And it basically now says that Russia should be banned from all athletic competition. And the Commission's chairman, Dick Pound, he also recommended that WADA immediately declare the Russian Federation non-compliant with the global anti-doping code. And he said that the findings of the Commission were, quote, pretty disturbing and worse than we thought. And he also said that there is no way that Russian officials would not have known about these violations. And the agency recommended lifetime suspensions for 5 Russian athletes, as well as the stripping of the accreditation of the Russian anti-doping lab and suspension of the Russian Athletes Federation. So Russia now has about a week to respond to these accusations, because the next step is likely to happen next week when the Anti-Doping Agency's Executive Committee and Foundation Board meet in the United States.
Now, Anya, just one more question before I let you go. The question then comes in, Russia hosted a successful Sochi Winter Games. You've got the Soccer World Cup coming up in 2018. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was watching the Grand Prix, the Russian Grand Prix. Russia is a strong and proud sporting country. What is the reaction to the normal Russians, the everyday Joe Soap? What do they think?
That's exactly right. This would certainly be a major blow to Russian sports and to Russia's reputation in sports, because Russia, as you mentioned, prepares to hold the World Cup in 2018. The report also said that it will recommend the International Olympic Committee that Russian athletes to be banned from the Summer Olympic Games next year in Rio. And if you look at the Olympics of the 2012, Russia came second after the United States. It won 17 medals, 8 of them gold. So if this happens and if Russia is not taking part in the Olympic Games next year, this would certainly change the competition entirely, and it would certainly change the way this competition is seen globally. And finally, this could also affect the reputation of Russian President Vladimir Putin himself, because the Russian leader is known in Russia for his passion for sports and for promoting sports competitions. As you mentioned, Russia hosted the Olympics last year and is preparing to host the World Cup next year in 2018. And this passion for sports is one of the key reasons for Vladimir Putin's popularity in Russia.
Anya Ardayeva, SABC News correspondent, speaking to us from Moscow. Thank you very much indeed for joining us right here on the show. Unfortunately, we would have liked to have your live pictures, but technically we fell a bit short. Sports Live at sabc.co.za is where you can get a hold of us at SABC Sports Live, our Twitter handle.